The Galactic Council's sanctions struck Earth with a brutality no one saw coming. Overnight, the planet's lifelines were severed, supply chains cut, energy sources shut down, and technology essential to Earth's stability rendered inaccessible. Cities that had grown reliant on interstellar trade were plunged into darkness. Food shortages, water rationing, and power failures became the new normal. Entire neighborhoods crumbled into silence as the advanced technologies that kept humanity alive stopped without warning. Despair spread like wildfire. Families struggled to keep their homes heated, businesses ground to a halt, and even the simplest medical supplies became luxuries. Humanity, always tenacious, now teetered on the edge of survival. And it was all because the Council, that distant governing force of alien species, had decided that Earth was too dangerous, too unpredictable to be left unchecked. The Council's reasoning? Earth's rapid development and its unchecked aggression posed a risk to the delicate balance they had created across galaxies. The price of defiance was harsh, and humanity was paying it in full. Within the halls of Earth's government, meetings became frantic. Scientists and strategists scrambled to assess the damage, to find loopholes, anything that might help them circumvent the Council's iron grip. But the reality was painfully clear. Earth was isolated, cut off from resources and allies alike. Proposals poured in. Some leaders argued that compliance, submission even, might win back the Council's favor, restoring Earth's access to the galaxy's resources. Others, with a fierce glint in their eyes, argued that now was not the time to bow. In this volatile mix of fear and determination, a singular voice emerged. One leader, known for his defiance and quick intellect, stepped forward. His words struck like flint against stone. "We are human," he said, his voice steady. "We don't break. Not now, not ever." He didn't waste time with speeches about resilience or pride. He simply laid out a plan not to survive, but to fight back. Across Earth, people started to listen. Communities began pooling their remaining resources, adapting as best they could. Power grids were modified, rationing systems introduced, and old technologies repurposed. Families shared their dwindling supplies with neighbors, strangers became allies. The Council's sanctions, meant to cripple humanity's spirit, were, ironically, bringing people closer, kindling a fire the galaxy hadn't expected. While governments strategized in boardrooms, the streets hummed with a different kind of energy. Innovators emerged in the unlikeliest places. Mechanics turned into engineers overnight, adapting vehicles and machines to run on alternative power sources. Farmers found ways to increase yields with dwindling resources, turning every scrap of land into a source of sustenance. Engineers, scientists, and even students hacked together devices and systems that bypassed the Council's restrictions, creating a network of ingenuity. It was no longer about survival alone. It was about defying a fate that had been imposed on them. People around the world tuned into the leader's broadcasts, where he spoke plainly, without pomp or pretense. He reminded them of humanity's history, of the battles they had faced long before the Council even knew of Earth's existence. Wars, natural disasters, pandemics, they had faced them all. "The Council believes they can break us," he said, his voice calm but charged. "But they don't understand what we are capable of." Under the Council's watchful eye, humanity's determination hardened into something unbreakable. In hidden research labs, scientists worked tirelessly, often with only the most basic resources, to develop technologies that could help them stand against the galaxy's most powerful regimes. The rest of the galaxy saw Earth as a backwater planet, a world that should have been easy to control. But in cutting Earth off, the Council had made a fatal miscalculation. They had underestimated the one thing that made humanity different: the drive to overcome, no matter the odds. The Council expected Earth to buckle, to beg for forgiveness. But instead, humanity was uniting in a way that transcended borders, cultures, and differences. The Council's sanctions had created something the galaxy couldn't comprehend, an Earth that would not only survive but resist. As the weight of the sanctions continued pressing down, Earth's leaders knew survival alone wouldn't be enough. A quiet resolve formed: Earth couldn't stand alone. They needed allies, even if it meant risking everything by reaching out to the unlikeliest of friends. It began with whispers and encrypted messages sent through barely functioning channels, directed at factions within the Council that shared Earth's dissatisfaction with the galaxy's governing power. The Council's iron grip didn't just oppress humanity. Other species, less vocal but no less suffering, bore the same weight. Through months of discreet communications and intense vetting, Earth's diplomats identified potential allies, species deemed insignificant by the Council, those who had no voice or power. They had suffered quietly for centuries, never daring to challenge their oppressors. Earth's messages to these groups weren't elaborate. They were direct and brimming with purpose. The message was clear. We're fighting back, not just for Earth, but for all who have been silenced. It wasn't about domination. It was about liberation, and the call struck a chord. The first to respond were the Vi, a species of traders and navigators known for their intricate knowledge of the galaxy's hidden paths. For too long, the Council had taxed them heavily, drained their resources, and relegated them to the fringes of galactic society. They had been pushed to the point of desperation, forced to serve as mere tools in the Council's machine. Earth's proposition offered them something they had long since lost: hope. In exchange for sanctuary on Earth and promises of shared resources, the Vi agreed to lend their vast knowledge of hidden routes and supply networks. Suddenly, Earth's reach extended beyond what the Council could predict. Next came the Drenther, a warrior species with a fierce code of honor, long suppressed by Council mandates that had disarmed and pacified them. Once known for their strength and resilience, they had been reduced to laborers on Council-run planets. Earth's message reached them with a simple promise: a chance to fight to reclaim their lost honor. For the Drenther, it wasn't just about rebellion, it was about restoring their pride. Their alliance came with the pledge of skilled warriors, trained in ancient combat techniques that the Council had all but forgotten. Earth welcomed them, knowing that their strength would be a force to be reckoned with. With each new alliance, Earth's network grew. Yet these partnerships weren't mere transactions. They were bonds forged from shared suffering and mutual respect. The common goal was clear: the Council's regime had to be challenged, and humanity was ready to lead that charge. The alliances were carefully concealed, meetings held in the quietest corners of distant worlds, and encrypted messages passed through complex channels that the Council's spies couldn't trace. Each meeting was a risk, but each risk brought them closer to an effective resistance. Humanity was learning from each new ally, adapting their strategies, and merging their own skills with the unique strengths of each species they encountered. The Vi taught them covert navigation through the galaxy's hidden routes, enabling them to transport supplies and information right under the Council's nose. The Drenther trained Earth soldiers, blending human ingenuity with Drenther combat techniques, preparing them for the grueling battles ahead. But alliances alone wouldn't be enough. To truly strike back, Earth needed to disrupt the Council from within. Using the Vi's intricate knowledge of trade routes, Earth's operatives began a campaign of subterfuge, intercepting Council supplies and diverting them to their cause. Each stolen shipment was a blow to the Council's resources and a boost to Earth's burgeoning resistance. These covert actions didn't go unnoticed. Word began to spread among the Council's oppressed worlds, whispers of an insurrection stirring, led by the humans and backed by those who had long endured the Council's heavy hand. The Vi, always attuned to the galaxy's pulse, reported growing murmurs of dissent in Council-held territories. Small, isolated acts of rebellion flared up as the Council's lesser-controlled regions began to see Earth's actions as a beacon of hope. As alliances solidified, Earth's leaders gathered their new partners in a historic summit, a meeting held in the heart of an asteroid field far from prying eyes. It was here that humanity shared its plan for an all-out insurgency, a campaign designed not just to attack but to inspire rebellion across the galaxy. Every ally, every faction, would play a role, striking at Council installations and symbols of authority. The Council structure was formidable, but not indestructible. The right moves, made at the right time, could fracture the very foundation of its power. One by one, representatives from oppressed species pledged their loyalty, not to Earth, but to the cause of freedom itself. In that moment, they weren't humans, Vi, or Drenther. They were united in a shared purpose to break the chains that bound them all. And as Earth's leaders spoke the final words of the summit, a vow echoed through the galaxy. Together, we will bring the Council to its knees. The rebellion wasn't just a concept anymore. It was a living force, driven by hope, unity, and an unyielding will to fight for a galaxy where freedom wasn't dictated by Council edicts but earned through the courage to stand and resist. Earth's defiance had reached a point of no return. The alliances were solidified, strategies carefully crafted, and now, it was time to strike. Under the cover of darkness and in the silence of space, Earth's first coordinated insurgency operation began. The target was a key Council facility, a remote energy relay station that fueled several Council outposts. In one swift, calculated move, Earth's forces, alongside their allies, infiltrated the facility. Using technology pieced together from both human and alien ingenuity, they disabled the station before the Council even realized what was happening. The operation was a success, leaving the Council scrambling to understand how Earth had managed to breach their defenses. This first strike sent shockwaves throughout the galaxy. The Council, accustomed to centuries of control, was suddenly facing a new kind of warfare, one that exploited every weakness it had long ignored. Earth and its allies moved quickly, launching a series of small but impactful strikes on other key Council installations. Each attack was precise, designed to disrupt communication lines, slow supply routes, and destabilize the Council's network. The guerrilla-style tactics were unfamiliar to the Council, whose forces were built around brute strength and centralized control. Earth's forces, by contrast, moved quickly, hit hard, and vanished before the Council could respond. Humanity's adaptability became their greatest weapon. They used old technology mixed with alien modifications, creating devices that bypassed Council security measures. Each strike became more audacious, as human soldiers and their allies struck Council bases across multiple star systems. News of the resistance spread, and with every success, Earth's insurgency grew bolder. Soon, they weren't just targeting supply depots and communication hubs. They were hitting high-value locations, places considered untouchable. The Council's strongholds, once symbols of absolute power, were now vulnerable, and the message was clear: no place was safe from Earth's reach. The Council's leaders were outraged. In response, they deployed more troops, heavily armed and prepared for a traditional battle. But Earth's insurgency wasn't a traditional war. Rather than engage directly, Earth's operatives began a psychological campaign, sowing doubt and fear within the Council's ranks. Using hacked communication channels, they sent out messages, hinting at future attacks, creating an atmosphere of constant tension. Council soldiers began to second-guess orders, growing wary of every shadow and every quiet corner. The once dominant Council was now paranoid, its forces stretched thin as they scrambled to respond to threats that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Earth and its allies didn't stop there. They began leveraging the resources seized from their raids, redistributing them to planets suffering under the Council's rule. Supplies, medical aid, even small arms found their way to distant, oppressed worlds. Civilians, once crushed by the Council's authority, now saw Earth as a symbol of hope. Some took up arms themselves, staging small rebellions and sabotaging Council infrastructure on their own planets. Earth's insurgency was no longer limited to its own forces. It was inspiring a galaxy-wide wave of resistance. The Council's hold was weakening, not just from the attacks but from the growing spirit of defiance it had sparked across its territories. With each passing week, Earth's forces grew stronger. They gained intelligence from sympathetic insiders within the Council, people tired of the oppressive regime and emboldened by Earth's audacity. These insiders fed critical information to Earth's operatives, revealing vulnerabilities in Council defenses and strategic locations. Earth's leaders knew that to maintain momentum, they needed to keep the Council on the defensive. They planned larger operations, coordinating with their allies to strike multiple targets simultaneously. The Council, unable to predict where the next hit would come, found itself paralyzed. Meanwhile, the alliances between Earth and its alien partners grew even deeper. Humanity's willingness to share resources, take risks, and stand beside their allies cemented trust. The Vine navigated ships through hidden routes, avoiding Council patrols, while the Drentha warriors took on increasingly dangerous missions, fighting alongside human soldiers with a unity the galaxy had never seen before. In these moments, they weren't humans, Vi, or Drentha. They were a united front, fighting for a future free from the Council's tyranny. The Council's desperation was evident. They issued harsher decrees, attempting to regain control through fear. But these efforts only fueled the insurgency further. Every oppressive measure became another reason to fight, another rallying cry for Earth and its allies. The Council's tactics, which had once kept the galaxy in line, were now their undoing, revealing their inflexibility and inability to adapt to a new kind of warfare. By now, Earth and its allies had not only disrupted the Council's infrastructure but had also broken its facade of invincibility. The Council, long seen as untouchable, was now a vulnerable and reactive entity. Word spread faster than the Council could contain it. Other species, previously too fearful to defy the Council, began to question its authority openly. Earth's insurgency had become more than a series of tactical strikes. It was a symbol of defiance, proof that even the mightiest regimes could fall. As Earth's leaders prepared for the next phase of their campaign, they knew the stakes had grown higher. They had struck a blow not only to the Council's resources but to its very image, shaking the foundation of power it had spent centuries building. Now, as Earth and its allies looked to the horizon, they knew the real battle was just beginning. The Council was weakened, but far from defeated. The fight ahead would be fiercer, and humanity was ready for it. The message was clear: Earth would not bow, and the galaxy was ready to follow their lead. Earth and its allies had inflicted a wound, but to truly end the Council's reign, they needed a decisive strike. Intelligence gathered from sympathizers revealed a critical target: the Council's command nexus, a fortress-like station housing the central command, communication relays, and the elite Council leaders. Destroying it would send shockwaves across the galaxy, breaking the Council's power and giving the Resistance a chance to establish a new order. The Council was vulnerable, but humanity knew this would be their most dangerous operation yet. Every ally, every ounce of strength and strategy, would be necessary to pull it off. Preparation was meticulous. Earth's best tacticians and alien strategists from allied factions gathered to form the plan. They had one shot, and the risks were enormous. With limited resources, they couldn't afford to face the Council's full force head-on. Instead, the plan hinged on diversion, stealth, and precision. Small teams would infiltrate, sabotaging key systems to disrupt defenses, while the main strike force would move in during the chaos. The Council's own network, once a tool of oppression, would be turned against them. As the operation commenced, Earth's forces moved with unparalleled focus. The diversionary attacks hit multiple Council installations across the galaxy, spreading their forces thin. The Council, desperate to protect their strongholds, diverted troops and resources to combat these simultaneous threats, leaving their command nexus exposed. Earth's strike team, a blend of humans, Vi navigators, and Drentha warriors, slipped through the gaps in the Council's defenses, advancing towards the heart of their power. Inside the nexus, the assault was swift and brutal. The strike team moved with purpose, disabling defenses, hacking into communication relays, and turning the Council's own systems against them. Every hallway, every corner was fiercely defended, but Earth's forces, battle-hardened and determined, pushed forward. The Council's leaders, caught off guard and with nowhere to escape, ordered their forces to defend the Nexus to the last. But it was too late. The tides had turned, and the Council's forces were unable to contain the insurgents sweeping through their stronghold. At the height of the battle, the Council attempted one last desperate tactic, broadcasting a message to the galaxy, framing Earth's assault as a barbaric act, a threat to galactic peace. But Earth was ready. Using the hacked communication relays, Earth's leaders countered with a message of their own, one that would reach billions of beings across the stars. They spoke of freedom, of the Council's oppressive rule, of the voices that had been silenced for centuries. The message was simple yet powerful. The Council's era was ending, and a new dawn was rising. The broadcast had an immediate impact. On planets controlled by the Council, civilians and soldiers alike watched, realizing for the first time the possibility of a galaxy free from the Council's dominance. Small uprisings sparked on worlds far from the Nexus, bolstered by Earth's show of strength. The Council's influence, so deeply rooted, was unraveling faster than they could comprehend. The Command Nexus, once a symbol of absolute control, was now under siege, with its own communications hijacked to inspire rebellion across the galaxy. Back inside the Nexus, the battle reached its climax. Earth's forces converged on the Council's command chamber, where the elite Council leaders made their last stand. Surrounded, the Council leaders faced their conquerors, humanity and its allies united by a common cause. It was no longer just about Earth's survival. It was about liberation for all species who had suffered under the Council's rule. The Council leaders, stripped of their power and authority, faced the reality they had once thought impossible. Their reign was over. As Earth's forces secured the Nexus, the galaxy watched in awe. For centuries, the Council had seemed untouchable, but now, humanity, a species once dismissed as primitive, had risen to become the catalyst of a revolution. The fall of the Command Nexus was a victory that echoed across the stars, sparking waves of resistance on every planet under Council control. Civilizations long oppressed by the Council took up arms, inspired by Earth's courage, and declared their own independence. In the aftermath, Earth and its allies gathered to establish a new era. The Council's oppressive regime was dismantled piece by piece, its former allies now aligning themselves with Earth's vision of a galaxy united by cooperation rather than fear. It was not a smooth transition. Rebuilding was messy, fraught with challenges, but for the first time, the galaxy tasted true freedom. The oppressive system that had dictated their lives was gone, replaced by an alliance forged in defiance and hope. Earth's leaders made it clear, they had no desire to dominate, only to create a fairer, freer galaxy. Humanity's role was not to rule, but to ensure no one else would suffer the fate Earth had narrowly escaped. This new order would be built on respect, mutual aid, and the promise that no species would stand alone. The sacrifices made during the insurgency would not be in vain. They would be the foundation of a future where all could thrive. As Earth returned to its rebuilt world, scarred yet unbroken, its people knew they had forever changed the galaxy. They had defied impossible odds, not for conquest, but for a vision greater than themselves. And in the distant reaches of the galaxy, the story of Earth's rebellion spread, a story of courage, unity, and a relentless will to rise. The Council had fallen, and in its place, humanity stood, not as rulers, but as a testament to the power of resilience and the boundless spirit that could never be contained.